at Supreme Court of India for the last 2 decades. He is the ex-joint secretary of Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association. Sir is the president of Society for Criminal Justice and national advisor to Ladli Foundation. He is consultant, convener, and patron for eminent social, political outfits and law journals in India. Vivek sir is one of the most popular, most discussed, and most read columnists for Times of India and Economic Times, and contributor of articles to the portal popular among legal fraternity called Bar and Bench. He has also authored the widely acclaimed book called Electionomics Defining the Elections in India. He has filed and successfully argued many pro bono cases of public importance to improve the hues and spectrum of society. He provides free legal aid to the women of marginalized societies and patronages many other events and programs for the welfare of women through his NGO affiliations. Vivek sir delivers many speeches and lectures. He has been awarded Star Advocate on Record by Business World magazine in December 2019, awarded Fit India Legal Icon by Glanbia Incorporation in collaboration of Ministry of Health, FEMS Award 2017 for Best Lawyer in providing free legal aid to women, Bharat Gaurav Samman 2017 by Today Live News, and Legal Icon Awards 2015 by Time India News. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today. I would now request Mr. D.K. Singh, sir, to kindly inaugurate the session.
Namaskar and good evening to all. Hello, I'm audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Namaskar and good
Namaskar,
evening.
sir.
And how are you, Vivek Narayan ji?
Sir, your blessings.
I'm really indebted to the organizer for having been invited here and giving me this opportunity to share my views. And today's topic is really very interesting and practical topic. Today's topic is strategy, litigation strategy, SLP and argument. So as far as the strategy is concerned, litigation is a like making herbal hamburger mince. It's messy and it's bloody. The plaintiff assert his right. As far as the defendant is concerned, he resists the claim, both the emotional and financial. The primary responsibility of the litigating attorney, advocate, is to devise the strategy that will achieve the optimal result of the client and while causing the least pain. That is the main theme regarding the legal strategy. And there can be no universal strategy since each case is a separate, unique, and but there are the pointers for the good litigator to follow. The first and foremost duty of the advocate to understand the client and their needs. In commercial litigation, one seldom comes across the individual client, but the important thing to remember, this is the corporate entity it represented by and speak through the individuals. As far as the India is concerned, in India, litigation is a long drawn out, and even after it will take the long time. Therefore, it is important to have the end game in sight and litigation strategy in place and to success in timely, cost-effective way. While no strategic formula, because the number of the case, different of the case come, so therefore separate case is the totally different from the another case, and these are the certain common considerations that litigator must keep in the mind. The litigator must understand the individual with whom he interferes, which drives this such individuals, what end the game is sought to be achieved, and what resources are available to achieve and the game, and most importantly, what are the weakness and what are the strength of the individual involved in the case. A seemingly seemingly strong case may be lost because of the weak witnesses, but seemingly a weak case can be won if the evidence comes very strongly. The litigator must keep capable enough to get into the mind of his client and work for that mind. First of all, the duty of the advocate must understand what the client needs, what is the interest of the client. If we are performing our duty honestly, it depends of the caliber of the advocates. Recognizing and seizing the opportunity in timely way is also an integral part of the litigation strategy. Litigation need not always be fought till the bitter end. Often enough, a window of opportunity may open to settle. That may require nimble footwork, but the strategy must adopt to make the most of the opportunity. While doing so, the litigator must remain conscious to protected settlement. Negotiation take away any pressures from the opponents, and in its may shut the window of opportunity. In practice, it is not unusual for team to split. While once the team is negotiating, the other team is continuing to litigation unless the course of course a standstill has been agreed. Equally, a well thought out strategy cannot remain constant and immutable. There are the invariable numbers of moving parts, and litigation evolve over the time as fact and nuisance, including the finer points of law, emerge or become clearer. The strategy must evolve as the litigation is never a set piece of battle. As far as today I have shared my personal views. I'm going to share my personal views. If the advocate perform his duty honestly, sincerely, and take the brief just like a challenge, and the challenge is accepted in core heart, he will perform his duty honestly, and definitely he will provide whatever the remedy and whatever the best recourse for his client. My and those who are here, participant here, students, I giving you my best. This is all the participants, and thank you to Mr. Rajinder Pal Singh and Mr. Vivek Narayanji is a ex-joint secretary of Pura. Number of the times I visited the Supreme Court, and today it will be our interaction on the in June. And thank you. And my best wishes for all the. And thank you again to Mr. Rajinder Pal Singh and Vivek Narayanji and all the. Thank you. Over to.
Thank you, sir.
Great to hear you, sir.
Thank you, sir, so much for your words. Now I welcome Mr. Vivek, sir, to start the session.
Yeah. Respected Dinesh, sir. It's I have heard you several times. I mean, I have always had the pleasure to hear you, and of course, means we are always inspired by the good work that you have done and doing for the advocate fraternity. And we are, as on behalf of all the advocates, I don't know how many people are able to say thank you to you, but yeah, means it is a personal thank you on behalf of all of them. And really great to hear what you have just expressed. And litigation means we are being essentially litigators. Means today, if we do law, we can become litigator. We can join the corporate practice, or we can join the public sector undertakings. Or means there are various avenues of being a lawyer. But to become an advocate, you are essentially registered with an association, means the bar council. So then you become the advocate. So the difference between lawyer and advocate is this: by the way of achieving a degree of law, you become a lawyer, and still you do not become advocate unless you are enrolled with a bar council. So our respected Dinesh Kumar Singh sir is vice chairman of the Bar Council of Delhi. to which even I am enrolled in 99. So it's really great. And then I just want to make, means just highlight one point where sir had said that weak cases can be won and strong cases can be lost. And he backed this thing with certain argument also, means it is not merely the strategy, how you put it, but you have to keep on revising your strategy, because strategy cannot be stale. So apart from strategy, what is required, as sir had said, you need to be prepared with the brief. So your strategy is one thing, then preparation of the brief is another thing, because it may happen on a given day you are not prepared and the other counsel is prepared. So you know your case well, but because you are not prepared on that particular day, so that may be a bad day for you. And I have seen those things happening even with the best of the lawyers in the Supreme Court corridors, in the Supreme Court itself. And then third thing which I think which is very important is belief. You need to have a belief. The belief is more than the self-belief here. Many a times we do cases where we feel that this case is not strong enough. So whether you feel that it is not strong enough to put forth, but still if you have the belief that you can, yes, bring out a result, good result out of the matter, then certainly you can win. So that feeling, that want to win is the essential, and that would come only with the belief. And then the fourth thing, very important thing, which many of us means are not adhering at times, is the respect. Respect to whom? Not only the bench, but the colleagues, the counsel who is arguing the matter on the other side. There is an essential element that we need to show the respect that the other person has. Because we are representing a client doesn't mean we are going to demean the other counsel. So I have seen with the new coming lawyers, at times it so happens that they are not able to adhere to that respect quotient. So it is very, very important, if you want to sustain in the field of law, it is very important, always respect to your senior. A person may be a 1 year senior or 2 year senior. Lawyer and lawyerly culture is such where respect had been paramount, and that's how means we don't advertise, we only respect. So, and the third thing is of course respect for the client as well. So with that, advancing the comments made by Dinesh sir, I would start my lecture today. So good evening, good afternoon to everybody who is on the platform today, and my best wishes for your future. And I always believe that the youth, because most of you must be youth, law students, and some new comers in the law field. So I always believe in the power of youth, and because youth are mostly idealistic in nature. As we grow with the time, the idealist nature, it reduces, and maybe sometimes greed takes place, wants, needs take place, the idealism. So at the time that we are today, when you are in your college, when you have joined the profession, you are idealistic in your nature. You want to do so many good things. You want to change so many things. So how do you change the things? The very first thing is, first of all, when you want to change the world around you, you will have to, means the people around you will have to have faith in you, believe in you, that you are a good, whatever work you are doing, they should feel that you are a good worker in that area. So now we are going to talk about the law, the practical skills being advanced. Means practically these skills are more or less same in all the courts, even in trial court, high court, and Supreme Court. In Supreme Court, the only issue would be that you would be have to be more precarious, more cautious about your advancement of your argument, and you cannot be silly. You cannot take things for granted. You cannot lie. You have to be honest, and then at the same time you cannot be unprepared when appearing before the court, because at any time, even if you are representing your senior in a matter, the court may ask you, all right, Mr. So-and-so, you start arguments, we are ready to hear. So what if your senior is busy, but you be prepared. So you must be prepared when you are appearing before the court. So those are the things which happen before Supreme Court, and it happened for the right reason. because at the same time, while junior counsel is asked to argue, it also allows him to put forth his argument. It starts boosting his confidence once he starts doing it. So those are the things. So there are three aspects of litigation at Supreme Court. One is drafting. The other part is, of course, drafting, pleading, and then practical skills. But so we will start with, how do you, suppose a client has come to you, how do you draft? How do you do things? Because at Supreme Court level, it is entirely different from the those clients who come to the trial court and the clients who come to Supreme Court. These are usually two different sets of clients. At trial court, this is the beginning of the litigation. At Supreme Court, it is the conclusion of the litigation. So in most of the cases, when we talk about the SLP, I'm not talking about the writ petition as of now. Writ petition means maybe there is a fundamental right infringed for which a fresh litigation may be filed before Supreme Court. And I'm also not talking about the original suits which are under the Constitution of India. If there is a dispute between two estates, two or more states, then that original suit has to be filed before Supreme Court. So those are not the cases which are the original litigation or the appointment of arbitration for international arbitrators under Section 11 of Arbitration and Conciliation. So right now, at this moment, I'm talking about the SLPs, more or less SLPs and civil appeals which are filed. Civil appeals, and what is the difference between SLP and civil appeals? Special leave to petitions are filed under Article 136, and civil appeals are filed under various articles flowing from Article 132, 133, 134, where the High Court grants the certificate. And then there are statutory like TD set or National Commission, National Consumer Dispute Redressal Forum Commission. So they have in the statute the provision to go for appeal before Supreme Court. So then they become a statutory appeal. So they are not filed as SLPs, they are filed as civil appeals. Or a criminal appeal in which a high court has granted a certificate to that extent, all right, means this matter is fit to be filed into appeal before the Supreme Court. So then in that case, Article 134, the appeal can be filed. So civil appeal, SLPs, statutory appeals, you must have, I must have made my point clear. That is statute which provide the filing of appeal before Supreme Court. Directly. In that case, these are called statutory appeals. And SLP means SLP can be filed under Article 136 against any order passed by any authority, any court. So Supreme Court has such wide and plenary powers with regard to filing of SLPs under Article 136. But then at the same time, Supreme Court has also chosen to restrain itself in the exercise of these powers, to the extent that it has provided certain limitations to itself. That if suppose there is an alternative remedy, then in that case, being there alternative remedy, one should not come before the Supreme Court under Article 136. So there are various limitations which has been provided, which you will come and to practice in Supreme Court, you will get to know. So I'll just I'm not going to take you into those details, because we have to talk much more on some different issues. So that's how, means most of the 90% of the matters in Supreme Courts are filed into SLPs, and then they are converted into civil or criminal appeals, and then they are leave granted, and then they are finally disposed of. Then come next is the writ petitions. Writ petitions where the fundamental rights have been infringed. Again, the caucus of the fundamental rights is given within Article 12 to the 32, and thereupon, once there is an infringement of the rights provided under that chapter, then in that case you can directly file a writ petition before the Supreme Court. Though for the same cause of action, you have every right to file your writ petition before respective High Court under Article 226. Again, here also Supreme Court largely applies a self-restraint by not entertaining all kinds of writ petitions under Article 32. So Supreme Court says, if suppose there is a fundamental right which has been infringed, and you are part of suppose you are a habitant resident of Ghaziabad, and your fundamental right has been infringed. So Supreme Court will ask you, why did not you go to your respective High Court? Because High Court is a court of record. So one should first of all go to the respective High Courts under whose jurisdiction they reside. So Supreme Court prefers that only in exceptional cases where means there is a hardship, or means where there are multiple states involved, or where where there is a conflict between two different high courts or more high courts about their decisions, or where there are so many matters pending in different high courts, whereupon one person can come to Supreme Court directly. So there are various means this is only a start point that I'm building up. So we have those writ petitions. So we have SLPs, we have writ petitions, we have civil appeals, we have criminal appeals, and we have original suits. So these are the 5 kinds of pleadings which we have. So apart from that, there would be many more transfer petitions and miscellaneous applications, matters which are pending in which you move intervention applications, like MC Mehta matter, which was decided back in 86. It is still as alive as it was 86 in 86. So therefore, this matter is going on for last 34 years, and it's showing the light to the environmentalists. So many applications are getting filed even today. Similarly, other matters are there. So there are basics. Now we will talk about the basics of drafting. How do you draft? When the client comes to you, then what comes to your mind that you should draft? So when we go for drafting, Supreme Court, in all the pleadings, Supreme Court, there is one essentiality in pleading. That essentiality which may not be there in the trial court, which is not there usually in the trial court, which at times in some pleadings it is there in high court, like in writ petitions it is there. So you have to carve out a synopsis and list of date. And then this follows by the judgment which you are challenging, in case you are challenging a judgment. And in case you are not challenging a judgment, if you have filed the writ petition, then in that case, immediately followed by that would be the writ petition that would be there as per the placement, followed by the certificate granted by the advocate, means signed by the advocate on record. There is a thing, means if suppose there is a pleading which has been pleading and document which has not been pleaded before the courts below, you cannot directly bring some new point before the Supreme Court. You cannot directly bring some new document before the Supreme Court. And for that purpose, one will have to file a certificate, seek permission, and by way of filing an application for seeking permission to place additional document or additional record, additional argument on record. So this is how you do at Supreme Court level, because essentially it is a concluding court, the final last resort in the country. And after that, you lose everything. It means if suppose you lose pleading at Supreme Court, then you lose it everywhere. It means there is no recourse available thereafter. So when the client comes to you, considering that there is a matter which has been filed in a trial court, suppose there is a tenancy litigation which was going on, the rent controller had allowed the eviction, then the appellate authority had also allowed this eviction, then second appeal, it has been turned down, and then the person has come to Supreme Court. So you see, in all the litigations which come to Supreme Court, means except for barring those litigations which come directly under fundamental rights and original jurisdiction, original suit. So all the litigation that comes to Supreme Court is of the nature where different courts have already had the view. There has been fact finding by the courts. So Supreme Court considers, okay, fact finding by the first appellate court till that period, means as per the law also recognized, a fact finding done by at the stage of first appeal, because first appeal is a court of law and court of fact. Trial court is court of fact. Trial court, court of fact, first appeal, court of law and court of fact, and second appeal is merely court of law, and then SLP is only means super in more higher way, it is only court of law. So no new fact can be alleged or no new fact can be brought out, usually means without the permission, and at the same time, even if you seek permission, Supreme Court is not going to allow it. So that's where you have to be careful that all the facts which are there in the pleadings of the courts below have to be narrated in such a way that all the necessary ingredients of the matter comes alive before Supreme Court. When they are presented, nothing material is concealed or nothing material is omitted. Because if you omit in the hearing before Supreme Court, you seldomly get chance to argue the matter for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Most of the time it so happen at SLP stage, it is only 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So that's how the average tenure of the first hearing usually happens. Judges already come prepared with a brief. So that preparation of brief is very important. The drafting, if it is meticulous, to the point, and not repetitive, because I have seen so many people do so much of repetition that everything is there, something that they have put in the main body in the repetition, or maybe the SLP, the entire paragraphs would be directly taken for the synopsis, and the synopsis will also become lengthy. So if we look at why I am stressing on this point is because at Supreme Court level, if you look at the preparation by the judges today, there are several law interns who are working with the judges, who brief the judges on the basis of the matter, on the basis of synopsis, and they prepare their own synopsis based on all the pleading. But at the same time, if it is when the judges read the matter directly, they merely see the synopsis in the beginning, and they see whether they can correlate that synopsis, which is the essential crux of the matter. So that essential crux of the matter, if it is outside the synopsis, or if it is somewhere means concealed in the synopsis is so long. So that will just create a de-interest in the mind of judge. Okay, this matter is not very nicely prepared. So a nice preparation always help you to give justice to your client. And for that purpose, while you prepare the litigation, when you draft, so drafting principles, the principles of drafting would be that I used to do, I will tell you from my own perspective what I used to do. I don't have a blackboard, otherwise I would have told you from that portion. So whenever any client used to come, I used to make the draft a short list of date in the very beginning. I used to talk to the client. I used to ask him, all right, you start from the very beginning. Tell me what happened. So from the very beginning, when he's talking to me and telling me all the relevant details, I'm noting down those details in the way of a list of date. So date X has come, suppose 1st January 2020, a particular event has happened. So I would ask him, is there any relevant document pertaining to that event? So he will say yes or no. Supposing he has a document, so he has given me that document. Then I will ask him, have you produced that document before the courts below? Means trial court or high court, anywhere. So I'll make a note correspondingly that this document has been filed before the trial court, in the first court, second court, and third court. So if not, then I'll make it read, this document, that there is a document, but it has not been filed before any court below. And later on, I will test whether this document is essential for the purpose of having relief from the Supreme Court or not. And I will have to establish that relevancy. And then I will have to establish why the omission could take place. Why did not I file that document before the trial court or the high court when there was sufficient time? So I will have to explain to Supreme Court if that is means sometimes a document is so gross, so important for the purpose of achieving justice in the matter, and at the same time it may not be in your sight, it may not be in your possession. So there may be XYZ many reasons, various reasons for which the document was not filed. So then you have to explain that reason. So when I come back to my list, 1st January 2020, first document I have carved out. My client will say, then 1st January 2020, this thing happened. Then why thing happened on 10th January 2020? I'll ask the same thing. So this is how I build up my list of dates. I'm just making a short note and collecting those documents. So he will say, all right, on 1st February, I filed the suit before the defendant, before the respondent party. I lost the suit on 15th February. So I'll note down and make the corresponding entry within the that this document is available file. So that's how, means you file, you prepare your civil appeal, criminal appeal, or SLPs. And in writ petitions, of course, means the basic issues are involved are fundamental rights, infringement of fundamental rights, so nature of breach of fundamental right, and then followed by what is the law supporting to you. Those are the relevant points. So once you do it, once you have done this basic fact collection, so these fact collection are for the purpose of enlightening the court that these are the facts behind the matter. But this is not the main part of the drafting. Main part of the drafting would be to prepare the grounds of the in the matter, and also to draft the substantial questions of law involved in the matter. In all the matter, in all the pleadings which are filed before Supreme Court, again except writ petitions and original suits, essential, this is the essential as per the formative, this is also the formative requirement, because Supreme Court pleading is contained in the 8 paragraph. It is, there is a format to it. So in all of them, you are required to frame questions of law, even except transfer petitions. At times means the family court transfer petitions. Otherwise means there are, if there are means multiple litigations, commercial litigation going around different high courts. So then you may have to frame a question of law to bring before Supreme Court that why it should be transferred, because the ground for transfer is substantial the public interest. So how to frame the grounds and how to frame that substantial question of law, that would be the big thing, because fact collection is something which is essential, which is very basic, and at our stage, means when we are in college, law college, or at any stage, we can do that part. This is easier part, and the only difference is the easier part has to be done in a proper mathematical manner, and should be noted down, and on the basis of that a list of dates should be carved out in a proper manner, and at the same time in a precise manner. So that is very important for everything that I am saying. I am always saying non-repetition and precise. Precision is very important. You do not repeat a fact which is not required. You do not mention a fact which is not required, but at the same time there should be no concealment of fact as well. So one has to understand, and all these things come with an experience. So we talk about the grounds. How do you prepare the grounds? Grounds, why have you come to file the SLP or the transfer petition or any pleading before the Supreme Court? Why have you come to Supreme Court? So those are your grounds. That in such a such matter, because the High Court has fallen in error, the trial court has fallen in error, the evidence has not been properly appreciated. You cannot say, you cannot bring a new fact in that thing, because a particular judgment has not been followed, which is the law of the land. So these are those things. So these ground has to be essential of legal character, not factual character. Factual character grounds can only be agitated in the way that the appreciation by the trial court or the High Court has not been proper. So that's the key there. So when you are drafting the Supreme Court litigation, means drafting the ground, so that's one part. So when you prepare the ground, the very important, first important thing is why you have come before Supreme Court. Because the High Court has gone wrong. Then why the High Court has gone wrong? In the second part, the High Court has gone wrong for these XYZ reasons. Now, what should High Court done? What should have High Court done? Then you bring, okay, there is a law, High Court did not follow that law, this is that law. This is the reported judgment of Supreme Court only. High Court did not follow this. So you give that answer to the question raised by you also. So how the High Court has gone wrong, you explain that portion, and then of course if suppose there are some additional grounds to mention, then you mention to substantiate what your point of argument is. And once you have drafted those grounds, then you know how what questions of law would be there. So when suppose there is no proper appreciation of evidence, so then whether High Court was right in allowing improper appreciation of evidence carried by the first court, the trial court, so that can be a question of law. So essentially, it has to be in this fashion that we prepare all the pleadings in Supreme Court. So this is means very cryptic in nature, and drafting and pleadings. This is how we do it. But apart from that, how do you really do a good drafting? Means when I appeared for my AOR examination, fortunately for me, I appeared in 2010, and when the result came, so in fact I was not here. I was in South Africa, and then Mr. Uh, Rahul Kaushik called me in, and I was sleeping. It was 5 o'clock in the morning in South Africa, and he called me. So he told me that we have cleared, and then he told me, Vivek, you have got highest marks in drafting. So there was a reason. Means I was very happy that I scored, while 70% people who had appeared in the AOR exam that year, they had failed in drafting. 70% people had failed in drafting, and I topped with 78 marks or something in drafting. So this is why do you means how could I achieve that? So there had been certain principles, preciseness, as I told you, conciseness, that I'm very crispy. I do not make unnecessary argument. There is no requirement, don't do it. If there are only 5 rounds coming out, don't make them 10 unnecessarily. Judges are very happy because I have sat with so many judges. I have briefed them. I mean, in their own way. When I was doing some internship in my college time, my senior used to be Mr. Dipankar P. Gupta. He was Solicitor General of India. So it so happened that I used to have this point interacting with judges. Even Justice Badar used to come. Then he was a lawyer. He used to come and sit in our chamber every day. So we had a great interaction, and there also thereafter also I had a lot of great interaction for the benefit of youth lawyers. What do they look? They look the preciseness, the shortness in the arguments. All the relevant points should be taken, and taken in an easy manner, in the easiest, most easy language. Don't use typical words. Use the most easy words. So this is how you gain confidence in drafting, and this is how you do good drafting. Precise, easy, short sentences, prepare, know how to build your grounds, know how to build your questions of law, and keep the pleading short and simple. Short and simple is the most easiest way to reach to the mind of the judge. So you may have a good case, you may have a bad case. A very bad case when it was being dismissed by Justice Datu, as then he was Chief Justice of India. So Justice Datu had a special thing that he never used to look into the eyes of people or lawyers when he used to dictate orders, and when he even used to talk to the lawyers during arguments. So he would never make an eye contact. He would always look here and there or here, but he would never make an eye contact. So on that day, I had this thing, and then he looked into my eyes and said, "We are dismissing it, Mr. Counsel, but we are really pleased to see the drafting you have done." So something coming of that sort means when the judges are dismissing that case, and even then they are appreciating the way it has been drafted. So this brings solace, satisfaction to you, and brings confidence to you for doing further good work. And at the same time, if suppose your client is also there, then he feels satisfied he has not gone to a wrong lawyer. So those kind of things definitely come, which means keeps on building. These are the building blocks to your success. Success is not one event. Success is thousands of events collected together. So when you do good work repeatedly, it brings success to your persona, your existence. So we would talk about now, apart from drafting, means what is the nucleus? I would want to know the nucleus, means how to really build up that nucleus of legal knowledge. How do you get how do you increase your legal knowledge? Many people here have a hearsay thing that people are talking mutually in mutual groups, and then they say, all right, such and such judge has passed this order, such and such judge has passed this order. So many of the people choose to increase their knowledge on the basis of hearsay. I have seen this phenomena happening more so in trial courts, that Supreme Court has passed such and such order, and they will not verify, and they will just start believing that Supreme Court has passed such and such order, and though the order would be totally different. So it so happened several times, even with some of the judges that I appeared before, that they had a belief that Supreme Court had passed such an order, but it was not so. Not with judges many times, but couple of times with judges, and then this is a common recurrence that we fail to vet. Being lawyer, it is a very important thing, and it is a very important strategy for ourselves, that we need to constantly increase the nucleus of our legal knowledge. And how do we increase that constantly? Not by hearsay. Hearsay is a good chance for you to really vet that information and know the right fact. If suppose you have heard something has happened, Supreme Court has passed an order, or High Court has passed an order, in some proceeding something has happened, then always try to vet it. Law, essentially what do? We connect fact with evidence and then produce before the judges and to seek a particular relief. And on the contrary, when it comes to our own belief, we hear it, we do not vet it at all. We do not get it support, means we do not seek support of evidence to support that fact. So if we do that, then we are short-circuiting our success, because people will have faith in you someday. But if you are not reliable, then in that case they will not have faith in you. They will never say to you, but at the same time they will not have faith in you. So it is always better, always keep those habits which are wonderful, which are good, and which are becoming of a good lawyer. Not a one becoming, okay, somebody has said something and then you have believed it, and then you have started propagating it. You have started telling more people. So a person, maybe it is a gossip or maybe it is something. So you need to vet it. You need to verify it. There's too much of lie being spread all around, means in social media, with regard to government, with regard to individuals. So many things happen. And 90% of the things are untrue. So in such a scenario, what happens? It is a very important thing for a lawyer that he has to increase his nucleus of legal knowledge, and at the same time vet all the information that is coming along his way with a reliable resource. So that's the first point. Then we come to the second point here, the court craft. Court craft, but before that, I missed one point here. When we talk about the nucleus, one very important relevant point I have mentioned several times, and everywhere I talk, I just say, in the formative year, I had this habit that I used to read 3 judgments every day. 3 judgments from Supreme Court every day in the morning. So the moment I used to get up, I will take the book in my hand, I will start reading those judgments. And after reading them, only thereafter I'll carry any activity. Means I used to go to play tennis or play something else, sometimes golf. So I'll not go anywhere till the time I've read those 3 judgments. So I kept this habit. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, lights on, and then I'm reading those judgments. And then I'll revise them during the lunchtime. I'll frame my arguments on the basis of those judgments. So 3 judgments a day in the beginning years, for it, suppose for 5 years, 10 years you have been doing, and then you will get a habit automatically. You see, in 2 years, in the beginning 2 years, if suppose you have already read 1 year or 2 years in the being a law student, each year you read 3 judgment daily, 1,000 judgments of Supreme Court pertaining to different subjects. So that means you are having a handy knowledge of law. When somebody will talk about something, you would have some idea how Supreme Court thinks about it, how the lawyers had argued in this matter. So you can be already prepared for any unforeseen. The client will not come and say, see, I'm coming to you, you please get prepared. I have a tenancy matter, or I have the NDPS matter. They will bump into you at any place. You are going, you are in a gym, you are in a party. सर आप लॉयर हो, आप सुनाए, और मेरा एक प्रॉब्लम है, ये ऐसा हो गया, बताइए आप इसमें क्या करना चाहिए. अब आप वहां पर जाके बुक तो देखने जाओगे नहीं. So that handy knowledge, if not to the core, but that handy knowledge, that you have the idea of knowledge which comes with that factor, then in that case you can win the client. And when there are less opportunities to win the client in the formative year, and if you get it and if you lose it, then you become loser. And I'll give you one example. Back in time, 2001, somebody contacted me, means we met in a party, and then they asked me certain questions in the similar manner. The strategy which I am saying, it had paid me off, so therefore I am mentioning it. Allow me for a minute. So in a party of big people, I was there, and somebody told me that there is a matter pending in Supreme Court, and then that time I was working with Mr. Dipankar Gupta. So he asked me that there is one such matter which is pending before Supreme Court, and in this matter these are the things, and this is pending for last 3-4 years, even prior to my coming into practice. So he asked me what can be done in this matter, and this matter was being done by a very well-known person, which I'll mention after a while. So after hearing him, I told him that in this matter, these are the two things which are required to be done, which will lead to this, and ultimately you get this. So this person asked me, क्या ये हो सकता है? मैंने कहा बिल्कुल लीगली पॉसिबल जो एवेन्यूज हैं वही बता रहा हूं मैं आपको. अगर ये नहीं हो रहा है तो इसका मतलब आपका मैटर राइट डायरेक्शन में नहीं जा रहा है. तो उन्होंने अपने सीनियर से बात कराई मेरी. सो दिस वाज, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, हो सकता है दिनेश जी जरूर जानते होंगे, संकट मोचन फाउंडेशन बनारस में टेंपल हुआ करता था, है अभी भी. तो संकट मोचन फाउंडेशन में वीरभद्र मिश्र जी थे, महंत जी. तो उन्होंने फिर मेरी बात कराई महंत जी से, एंड दिस वाज गंगा एक्शन प्लान मैटर which was being done by Mr. MC Mehta on their behalf that time. Sir, Dinesh sir?
I know because I also belong to the Banaras.
हाँ, तो वही मैंने बोला. तो ये संकट मोचन फाउंडेशन टेंपल था, तो महंत जी से उन्होंने मेरी बात कराई. महंत जी ने जब मेरे से बात करी, 10 मिनट हमारी फोन पर बात हुई सर उस समय, और उन्होंने फिर कहा, विवेक जी मैं आपसे बात करके बहुत प्रसन्न हुआ हूं, और ये मैटर मैं आपके पास भेजता हूं, आप इसको करिए. तो 2001 जब मेरे को 2 साल की प्रैक्टिस हुए थे, तब उन्होंने, महंत जी ने, वो इतना बड़ा मैटर गंगा एक्शन प्लान का एमसी मेहता के ऑफिस से निकाल के मेरे हाथ में पकड़ा दिया. हालांकि एमसी मेहता साहब ने उसमें नो ऑब्जेक्शन देने में हमें 4 महीने 6 महीने लगाए थे. So ultimately what we had, जो मेरी analogy थी, we succeeded in that analogy, we achieved that result also. So how could I do it? Because I had that preparation in mind. I was pre-prepared, I was ready. So it's like, you know, the driving, any car you can drive, but you should better drive the Formula 1. You prepare for Formula 1. So when you prepare, when you read 3 judgments a day, it is going to bring you that kind of order to your mind that nobody can fail you. At one point in time, 2007 I am talking about, I was arguing a matter before a judge, High Court. I'm not mentioning the name of the judge. So Mr. Chandiok was also sitting beside me in a following matter. So the honorable judge of the Delhi High Court said that Mr. So-and-so, this is the law, and this matter, that means this was civil miscellaneous petition filed against a order passed by the trial court, which I was contesting, and she had already dismissed 13 matters prior to me, and mine was 14, and 15 was Mr. Chandiok. So when she said that this is the law and that she's going to dismiss it, so though I should not have been arrogant, means which I really understand, but at times it so happens. So I said, my lord, I will tell what the law is. Rather, I said, my lord, today I will tell what the law is. So that belief was for the reason because I knew it, and I thought I know more than her in this area, in this particular not the entire subject, but rather on that point. And I narrated, I challenged her, means I said, not today I'll tell you what the law is. And thereafter I gave my propositions. For half an hour, I gave my propositions, and post that she passed an order in my favor. Mr. Chandiok and all other people just clapped, means मेरे कंधे पर उन्होंने हाथ रखे, ये कर, means they just appreciated a lot. So this is how you have to be. If you are prepared, so you can, means David versus Goliath. So prepared versus non-prepared. In one of the matter, I was arguing before Mr. Harish Salve, and judges heard me, and it was a, means again it was a Ganga Action Plan matter only. So it so happened on my side, means there was Mr. Sibal on that day, he was not available. Mr. KK Venugopal, he was not available, so I had to argue myself against Mr. Harish Salve and Mr. Gopal Subramaniam. And then when I came on that day from the court, so many hands came over my shoulder to pat me. You did pretty well. So this is how you do it. But you can only achieve it when you increase the nucleus of your legal knowledge. Vet whatever you hear. Don't believe in hearsay, but vet it, verify it. It gives you a chance to go in that direction. And then, of course, codecraft. Now I would talk about codecraft. What is the codecraft? Codecraft is just self-belief. Very important factor, means all that knowledge is there, but you don't have self-belief. You have knowledge. There are so many knowledgeable counsels who cannot speak before the court. So self-belief will bring confidence in you to speak. So that's very, very important. You can use some methods like meditation for that purpose. Means I have been doing meditation since my childhood. So it had helped me a lot. But at the same time, you can inculcate and you can improvise various methods to increase your self-belief. Once you have those self-belief, then powered by constant upgradation of your knowledge, practicing of argument, and honest work. Mind it, the work has to be very honest. And at Supreme Court level, you cannot afford to be dishonest. As DK sir has said, Dinesh Kumar sir had said, honesty is very important. And I do believe honesty is the most important factor, because that brings you the goodwill before the judge's eye. And they believe you. They have trust in you when they know that you are an honest worker. You will not misconceive, you will not conceal, you will not misguide them. So that brings the goodwill for the bench. So if you know about means there is an old saying that to get the good relief, you need to know judge. So no judge is not actually in that parlance that you actually are shaking hands with the judge or having dinner with the judge. The another connotation that I derive from it is that I know my judge, that my judge, how does he react? In what manner? What is his pace? How does he argue? So knowing judge for me is in that parlance, not in the parlance that I have dinner with my judge. So, and then the fourth thing is preparation of the strategy leading to end point. Whenever you are preparing a strategy, I always draw my strategy from the pinnacle of the point which I want to reach. Okay, this is that point where I want to reach, and from there I come downwards. I do not go from down to up. I come from up to downwards. Okay, this is I want to achieve, and how can we achieve? What are the steps? And there is a simple methodology also behind it. आप लोगों ने अपने आप कभी कोशिश करना देखना, आप वो भूल भुलैया होता है, मीन्स देयर इज अ वो मेज पहली होती है, इसमें मेज बना होता है, आपको एक पॉइंट से बहुत सारे चक्कर घुमा के कहीं दूसरे पॉइंट पर एंड पॉइंट पे जाना होता है. तो आप कोशिश कर लो, योर टाइम टेकन फ्रॉम द स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट टू एंड पॉइंट, इफ यू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट and reach to end point, time taken would be much higher than if you start from the end point to starting point. So this is just mathematical, means my mind had been mathematical. I had been a student of mathematics and chemistry, and I had in fact topped in my final year of second topper in mathematics in final year in graduation. So I just apply certain methods to my ways. So it is very important key strategy, whatever way you build it, but you build till the end point, that this is the final result you want to achieve. Whether it is, and it is more important for the people for the lawyers who are practicing a trial court, because ultimately at Supreme Court level, whatever comes, we are restricted by the way the matter has been handled by the at the level of trial court. So if trial court level the handling of the matter has been good, great, then in that case it will always help the client at higher court, in high court and Supreme Court. So if at the trial court level the matter has been mishandled, not properly advocated, then in that case it becomes very difficult to bring justice to the client, to such client who are in so need. So there are various factors when we talk about, means we have talked about drafting, pleading, some practical skills, some court crafts. So I want to bring your attention to something relevant in today's time. We are all talking about the adversarial jurisdiction. Advocacy is not merely adversarial. Advocacy can be in non-adversarial, less adversarial situations also, like arbitration and mediation. India is essentially a place where most of the litigations happen, and in an adversarial manner, for the reason because mediation is only takes place after the litigation is filed, and in mostly family matters, not in commercial matter. In commercial matter means mostly it is arbitration, which is considered less adversarial, but at the same time cost effectiveness is not there attached to arbitration. Now there is a flux coming along, people thinking all aloud in the direction that the litigation cost has to be reduced, the tenure of litigation has to be reduced. There is too much of delay. Means around the globe, this is not the phenomena in India that justice takes time. If trial happens even in US, then trial takes time. So the time may be different, but it so happens every place. So litigation globally is something which happens, which takes a lot of time. The world is developing a module with regard to mediation now. And therefore, I wanted to bring your attention towards that direction. In the coming time, in a year or two, means post-COVID, the situation which may emerge, there would be a lot of litigation which may be fought in the courts, tenancy litigation, commercial litigation, so many, means force majeure clause, there would be thousands, lakhs of matters in one particular district, depending on the number of habitat of the district. So, at the same time, Supreme Court has appointed a committee to look into to draft a legislation for the mediation. So, possibly before the COVID situation ends, there is a possibility that such a legislation comes in place. And if such a legislation comes in place, then there may be a situation which be so that everything that goes because of COVID-19 situation, the matters which may arise, they may directly go for mediation. So be prepared, be ready, wherever you get something with regard to mediation, this is the coming thing which may happen. and lawyers would have very important big role in these things. So if you get the training, do get those trainings also. So this is what I wanted to say. Apart from that, Rajendra ji, there must be certain questions, I think.
Yeah, sure, sir. Uh, yes.
दिनेश
Yes.
सर, मैंने बोर तो नहीं किया?
Uh,
You have
Students can put
enlightened.
your questions in the chat box.
आप पढ़कर बोल दीजिए.
Okay, sir.
If they want to ask any questions.
Yeah. Sir, there is a question. What are the essentials as a lawyer to become a good mediator?
A good smile is very important. So to be a good mediator, one has to be a good listener. Essentially a good listener. One who will not be reactive in nature. If you start reacting with people, then they will not be able to understand your point of view. And mediation is something where there are two different point of view and you have to bring them to one point of view. If you start reacting with them, then they will never come to that central point of view. You can decide being a judge and you can be arrogant, but when you are a mediator, you have to be soft skilled in such a scenario. So this is very essential, relevant, and at the same time, there are various methods of mediation. Of course, one will have to go for mediation training. So you have to talk to the clients together, independently, several sessions with them. You have to make them realize that they cannot have the moon which they desire. They can have something less. So you have to bring that to less, and both the sides. That's how the mediation happens. Because both sides would have to compromise, nothing will get what they want. In litigation, what happens? Either you get it or don't get it. So you lose it completely or you get completely. In mediation, both parties have the win-win situation, but both have to compromise. So using these facts in such a manner that it may bring a solution, this is how the mediation has to happen. Baki
So for now, since there are no questions, I request you to kindly give the concluding remarks.
Concluding remark means I will just say what I believe means work-life balance is very important. When in law, in the beginning years, I used to work till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock every day. And my weight had been, my own body had become so frail. If you look at that, I had been 7-8 kg lesser than what I used to at that point in time when I began. So beginning year, when you spend such time, it is very important because you develop that knowledge, your guts, your nucleus of knowledge, and by way of applying mind, giving application to the knowledge is very important. It is one thing that you have known something, but whether you are able to apply in a given fact situation, so you have to apply those things. You have to just have a internalization of that knowledge. So that is very important. If you are able to internalize your own knowledge and then work on it, whether you are deficient of the requirement or you are above the requirement, so this is how you have to keep on building that knowledge. And lawyer is somebody who is not, even if a criminal lawyer is there, he may need to argue a certain point with regard to civil matter, even in the criminal court. So lawyer is somebody who is not restricted by way of his presence. He is somebody, he knows everything. Being a lawyer, I may represent a doctor, I may represent an engineer, I may represent so many different people. I may need to argue certain things with regard to engineering part also. Like in arbitration, we have to do it. So many things. So there are so many verticals of life that we have, but lawyer is just crossing all the verticals. This is horizontal. So we know so many things. So in such a scenario, never think that you don't need to know this. Whatever comes your way, take it. Knowledge है, काम आएगी. आज नहीं आएगी, 10 साल बाद काम आएगी. But if it is a knowledge, then it will definitely help you. So while we choose those habits by way of which you keep on gaining mentally, not something that you are not gaining. People like to gossip a lot. I am one such person. I don't like to gossip at all. But then I have fixture. I make work-life balance. I do fitness workouts. I do yoga. I do spend time with my kids, with my family, and I do a lot of work. I still do work. I will sit at 11 o'clock in the night. I would be working till 5 o'clock in the morning on the need basis. But at the same time, the basic idea is to keep work-life balance. This life is there, so value it. Value the people surrounding you. Value your colleagues. Value your friends, family. So there should be nothing that you have started looking to be the greatest lawyer of the world. You would not become that in one night. It will take years. Even Mr. Ram Jethmalani came to be known as Mr. Jethmalani after 30-40 years of practice. Whatever we are seeing, everything takes time. Nobody can short circuit that time. So just enjoy and do good work, be honest, and always, very important, always respect seniors. If you respect seniors, they would love you and they will grow you. Today the phenomena is so happening that seniors are standing in the court, juniors are sitting, and they would not offer their seat. Our culture means law is essentially a culture. It is very important that we respect the seniors. All the good seniors we had been giving that respect, and then this is how this is the outcome of that.
Sir, there is a question from Mr. Harry. What is the difference between re-appeal and second appeal? And where can these occur, at the same territory or different territory?
See, re-appeal का तो कोई हमारे यहाँ पे provision है नहीं. हाँ? Re-appeal का तो कोई provision है नहीं. I have never seen a re-appeal.
Hearing first time.
No statute prescribes it. Re-appeal means if suppose there is an appeal which has been dismissed, you can file a review. But it can't be a re-appeal. There is no such word recognized in law. In Indian, at least in Indian jurisprudence, I have never seen it. So it may be what he must want to say, review. So if an appeal has been dismissed, then in that case, one may file a review within the stipulated time period, which is usually 30 days. So review one can file, and then there are certain grounds of review. There are 3 grounds. Means of course means some fact which was not there in your knowledge, it has now come to your knowledge. So therefore you are filing that, you are bringing that fact, and it is relevant to the important to the justice in the case. Then second, very important aspect is something which is wrongly recorded in the record. There is some mistake in the order. So you can go for review on these grounds. And rest appeal, the ground of appeals are different. Means if it is a first appeal in a civil matter, it will be an appeal on facts and law. If it is a second appeal, it will not be an appeal on facts at all. It would be only an appeal on law. Similarly, in criminal matters. Anything else, sir?
Thank you so much, sir, for such a knowledgeable session. I thank DK Singh, sir, Vice Chairman BCD, for their kind support. Thank you, sir, to the participants for joining
सभी
us.
को नमस्कार. डीके सर, नमस्कार.
Thank you, sir.